Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host as always, Ryan, and we have some breaking news coming out of AEW, and that is that Ethan Page, All Ego, Ethan Page has been released from the company. He is no longer listed on the AEW roster page, and a lot of the dirt sheets are reporting that he has in fact left AEW. Now, he hasn't come out and said anything himself on the matter, but that is expected imminently. Apparently he asked for his release back in February, and they have now agreed and granted his release. So Ethan Page is no longer All Elite. So unfortunately for me, Ethan Page just never hit it in AEW, which is one of them where you say, did AEW drop the ball? And you've got to say yes they did. You know, he was riding on a big high when he left TNA. Obviously, former Impact Tag Team Champions with Josh Alexander. You know, they had a record-breaking run as Tag Team Champions, and they both seem to have really bright futures. Josh Alexander obviously stayed in TNA, signed a new deal, and went on to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion, again having another record-breaking reign. Whereas Ethan Page joined AEW and resulted in pointless storylines and never really given a fair shot, in my honest opinion. He put into a storyline, obviously, with Scorpio Sky and America Top Team, which was a tag team, which were already called, should have really looked this up beforehand. What's the name of the team? Something like Men of the Year, wasn't it? Men of the Year tag team. But they never amounted to anything. They never even won tag team championships. That's the thing. Ethan Page has been in AEW for 3 years and not won a single title, not a tag team, a trios. And if you think the amount of championships now in AEW and Ring of Honor too, and he didn't hold a single championship, and he didn't really do anything that was overly memorable. He had the storyline with Matt Hardy that seemed to run on forever and ever, and where he controlled Matt Hardy for a while, and then Matt Hardy then controlled him. They owned each other's contracts or whatever the storyline was there. And then he went to Ring of Honor for a bit, had a rejuvenation. He rebuilded himself in Ring of Honor. Got some good wins under his belt, faced Josh Woods and the likes of them in Ring of Honor, and then again it sort of fizzled out and he didn't really do too much with him. And then over the last couple of months they've allowed him to do indie shows, and he's picked up a couple of indie championships along the way, and now has been released. So unfortunately I'm going to put this one down to, I think Ethan Page is talented. I like the guy. I think he's very likeable. I watch most of his videos on his YouTube channel. He does figure hunts. Obviously, as you know, I'm into wrestling figure collections, and Batman. He's big on Batman and stuff like that. He seems to be a really likeable guy. He's decent in the ring. He's not fantastic on the microphone, but now it's Josh Alexander. But yeah, Josh Alexander became a world champion. Ethan Page didn't. So, I'm afraid I'm going to have to put this down to bad booking and a ball drop by AEW. I feel like Ethan should have been something. He should have been, he could have been TNT champion. Scorpio Sky won the TNT championship twice. And he's another one I'd expect to be released soon. We're not seeing anything of him for a while. But it's been bad booking. This is the problem when you fill out your roster with so much talent. A lot of the other guys get, I won't say the other guys because he is talented, but a lot of guys with not as big names, shall we say, sort of get pushed to the side, and Ethan Page is definitely one of them. And so what next for All Ego? Well, I'd expect a return to TNA, to be honest. Obviously, like I say, he was in a team with Josh Alexander, so there's some unfinished business there. He could come in, team with Josh Alexander. He could come and turn on Josh Alexander. They don't necessarily need to be a tag team again. He could always turn up and say he's going to team with him and then turn on him. That would give us a good decent storyline for a while. You know, there's so much talent now in TNA and some great stories building. You know, he could face like Mustafa Ali for the X Division Championship. You know, there's so much there that he could do in TNA. I think if he went to WWE, unfortunately, again, I think he would get lost in the shuffle. Even NXT for me is not what it once was, which is a shame because I feel like Ethan Page in the old NXT would have come out really well, at least a decent mid-card wrestler. But at the moment, remains to be seen how long he will still tour the Indies. Like I say, that's what he's been doing lately. He's been touring the Indies and picking up a couple of championships. But we have the TNA pay-per-view Under Siege, which is coming up this weekend. So could he well show up on TNA TV? We've seen it happen quite a lot after people have left AEW recently. They have gone over to TNA. You know, you've obviously Nick Nemeth, Matt Hardy is another one. So there is always the possibility that he could show up at the Under Siege pay-per-view. But it's definitely one to keep an eye out on. Like I really do like Ethan Page. I think he's got loads of potential. And I feel like for the last 3 years in AEW, I feel like they've dropped the ball, and I feel like it may even have hurt his career in a way. I mean, I know it sounds mad to say that, but you know, he's in his 30s, and he's just wasted 3 years of his life, I'm afraid. The good thing that's come out of it for him, on a personal note, is he's got his first ever wrestling figure. And AEW have obviously commissioned him to have a wrestling figure that is due out very, very soon, but it is limited sales for that. And obviously, as a wrestling figure collector, that's got to be right up there as something of quite an achievement. But in ring wise and on screen wise, you know, I don't feel like there's anything that they've done with Ethan that will live on as a memory. Like, it's again another one of the balls dropped with a wrestler in AEW for me. There's no surprise he's been released. Like I say, he did ask for this release, and obviously, like I say, he hasn't done a hell of a lot in AEW, and I'd assume more guys will follow suit over the next couple of months. Like I said, like Scorpio Sky, there's not been a great deal been done with him. Danhausen's been touring the Indies once again, doing GCW and the likes of them, so I'd expect probably he's got one foot out the door. I know obviously Tony's always allowed guys to do Indies as and when he can, but at the same time, is if they start reappearing on the Indies after 2 or 3 years, you've got to think maybe they have got one foot out the door in AEW, so I'd expect a couple more guys to be released soon. So as always, let me know your thoughts and feelings on Ethan Page being released from AEW. Do you feel like AEW dropped the ball with Ethan Page? And where do you see Ethan turning up next? For me, the only destination for him should be TNA. If anything, even a shortstop to rebuild himself and revitalise his career, TNA would definitely be the place to do that for him. So, as always, don't forget to give me a like, comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and be sure to stay tuned for more wrestling related content coming your way very, very soon.